This is One Fail, One Fix with Amber Bell from Training Dynamo. Today we're talking about a manufacturing company that had been using Microsoft Dynamics GP for more than 20 years. But over time, their general ledger structure had become just a tangled mess. They had multiple segments for accounts like location and department, and they'd created every possible combination, which resulted in thousands of unnecessary accounts. So when it came time to implement Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central, this mess became a major roadblock. So Amber Bell from Training Dynamo, tell us a little bit more about this fail.
Well, when I was brought in, not only was this causing issues for what they were looking to do in Business Central, it had already been causing them so many issues in GP. They were just frustrated. New people would pick the wrong account. Trying to keep track of what was very difficult for them. Basically, what happened was when the person was setting up the general ledger, they thought that they had to give every single combination in every single company of every single different location. So companies without that department still had that department. Companies without that main account still had that main account. So each company literally had tens of thousands of accounts they never used and they never were going to use. So as their partners looking at this, how do you know, especially if there's mistakes every so often, which accounts are the ones to keep, which ones are going to be merged, which segments are critical, which segments are not going to be needed to become the dimensions in BC. It was very, very confusing and very crazy.
Amazing. And you told me it ended up with over 70,000 accounts, and at the end of the day, they only needed about 1,500 of them. So that's crazy. So what was the fix for this fail?
Yeah, so basically what we wanted to do was to figure out, what was going on in the data and not just, get rid of it when they switched over. We wanted to analyze the accounts and get rid of those unnecessary combinations so that their chart of accounts was already going to be simplified and also going to be able for them to map everything correctly when it came to BC. So the first thing we did was I actually created a really, really good SQL view that I'm sharing with customers. I'm starting a new program and a new outreach to companies to let them know that I can do this with them. So basically what the SQL view I created does is looks at all of the accounts. When's the last time they were actually used, not just closed with a balance? What is happening with them? You'll be able to see where they were able to see which ones were never used and which ones were only used, 15 years ago. We were able to do that and then automate cleaning those up, either inactivating or in many cases just deleting them. What we found though is that it wasn't just the GL. When you start looking at an actual company, you see that when there's an issue like that or when they're looking to move, what you don't want to do is just say, "Oh, we'll fix it," and then it'll be ready when you go over in BC. You want to fix it as soon as possible, even if you're not ready to go into BC, because cleaning up and inactivating the vendors you're not using, cleaning up and inactivating items and merging and getting rid of old purchase orders, it's going to make it so much easier as you figure out what exactly you need in BC. So what we did was we literally went through and we found old customer balances. Are they going to be written off? Was there a credit memo that never got applied? We got all that done. Is the bank rec never done? Was the bank rec done? We've gone through and I've done this with, I've lost count of how many customers I've been doing this with lately and people that are reaching out to have me help them do this because they realize taking ownership of that instead of just saying, we'll clean it up in the weekend between GP and BC, it gives more ownership to the actual people that are going to be doing the job. And it also ensures that you're not just having it kind of every time you change an ERP, someone hopes they're figuring it out. Because that's what I think happened even with this customer. They changed from another accounting system. Somebody looked at it and did the best they could to figure out what they needed and then brought it into GP wrong and everyone built on that foundation. And you just don't want to do that again. Take the time right now to do that. And that's what my whole job, my whole life, my whole thing is focusing on training and making people feel empowered like a superhero in their own company. So that's really what I've been doing for over 20 years now. Actually, my 9-year anniversary for working for myself is this month.
Congratulations. So for this specific company, what were the benefits to them once all the data was cleaned up?
Well, once the data was cleaned up, the good thing about it was I gave them things that allowed them to keep it clean. So as they're figuring out what they're doing in BC, as they're getting that all planned, I didn't just say, I'll fix it. You guys are, every time you need to do it, give me a call and I'll do it. I empowered them to keep up with it. So first of all, we fixed all of that kind of thing. We also mapped out and figured out how they were going to be using the system, how they were using it now. That helped their partner when they were trying to figure out what add-ons they needed, what custom setup they needed. So that really saved them money. And then the other thing that did was that it made everyone in the company feel like they're part of the project. Instead of the project being kind of forced onto them, they were excited because they saw as they were cleaning things up, their day-to-day life was getting easier and easier in GP, and the planning was coming together so that they could have an even better system. They got better financial reporting, and they're going to have really a very, very good, clean BC implementation because they know what they're doing. They're given that time to figure that out with training to keep up with it.
Well, that sounds like a big win for this company. You touched on it already, but what other pieces of advice would you give to companies that are looking to move from Dynamics to GP to Dynamics 365 BC right now?
Well, what I would say is that don't wait until you're ready, like the day you're going to switch over to BC. And who knows, maybe you'll end up picking another software. We'd love to everybody get to BC. That's what I'm focusing on. But the better that you can start cleaning up your data, and getting rid of things that you don't need, the better it's going to be easier for your team in the short term and in the long term as well, because now they're going to know what they're looking for. They're not wading through craziness. There also are so many companies that I've helped bring their bank reconciliation into GP, getting those things figured out, because the less crazy things you have left over in GP, the easier it's going to be in BC. One of the things you should also do is make sure everything's balancing. So your month end process should be really good. I actually have a workbook I use for when I do month end. I just used it yesterday. I closed a whole bunch of companies for another client, but I literally have checklists I give clients in workbooks on what to do every month when they're in GP, so that when they're ready to flip that switch, you're not going, oh my goodness, we have to figure all this out on the, couple weeks before we go live or the day before we go live. Other thing to do is there's differences in how BC handles customers, vendors, items when it comes to how they assign accounts or account groups. Learn that. And even if you're not going to use it right away, there's ways to implement something similar in GP so that's easier. You want to document your processes. Get everyone to print out the reports they need. Get everyone to say, this is the third party we use. This is the report I need. This is how I do it in Excel. This is the super secret post-it I have that helps me figure out how to do it each month. So figuring all of those things out now and starting, whether it's on, literally if you're into having a binder, have a binder. If you want to have it in a secure folder, those things now are going to be easier. The other thing, and this is really why I'm so passionate about training. I know you interview so many people that have beautiful, wonderful add-on products, and those are amazing. Like I've even reached out to some of the people I've seen on your series like this, and the products and the software is amazing. But honestly, the most expensive and the most important asset at any company is the employees. So if you can help them understand the changes, why they're happening, and also figure out, is there something that they know that could make it even better when you're implementing?
So that's a great story. And the takeaways, I think, are clean up your data, document your processes, invest in your team now to save money and avoid headaches later, and call Amber Bell at Training Dynamo.
Yes, I'd love to help you. And by the way, I am not a partner. My job is literally focused on training, implementation, creating reports, making things better for you. If you are a partner and you have a client that just needs a helping hand, you can have them reach out to me as well.